Another beautiful morning. Got here a bit late though. I should have been here an hour earlier. But this scene that I'm looking at, straight into the sun, is still rather beautiful. It's a bit tricky shooting this though, because I'm shooting straight into the light. It's a lot of contrast, very easy to blow out the highlights. 60th f16, 100 ISO, focus about a third of the way in. Alright, time to swap out to a longer lens. This was the 14 to 35. I'm now going to try the 70 to 200. Getting closer on some of those lovely ridges. I did not think I'd be shooting straight into the light this morning, but here we are. You play with what you have. And this is beautiful. It's just challenging in terms of contrast and the direction of the light. You know, I'm always saying to come back to a place time and time again, different times of day, different times of the year, different seasons. This is why. It's because, I mean, this looks completely different to what it did a few days ago because I'm here at a different time of day. I'm here at dawn. If I'd have managed to get my ass out of bed an hour early and got here at pre-dawn for blue hour, this would have been totally different again. It would have been beautiful. Unfortunately, I didn't drag my fat ass out of bed early enough. But I'm going to have to try, because I would love to get this at blue hour and see what it's like and get that first pre-dawn glow just emerging behind the mountains there. But this is still beautiful. See, this is the kind of thing I'm always looking for. It's just little plays on light and shade, little elements of a scene to pluck out and to create a nice simple composition with. Let's see what I can do with this. When it's really hazy like this, there's not much point putting on something super long like the 100 to 400, you know, out to 400, because there's so much environmental haze that you end up with shots that look kind of milky and soft. I mean, you could crank up the clarity and the dehaze sliders in Photoshop or Lightroom, but then it just starts to look unnatural. So when it's kind of really hazy like this, I think it's better to stay back at shorter focal lengths. Oh, I see a couple of little trees over there on the ridge line, which might actually look good with a 100 to 400. Completely discrediting what I said earlier. This 100 to 400 was a bloody good purchase decision, because I loved my EF 100 to 400, but it was just a bit too bulky to have in my bag all the time. I had to decide to leave something at home, but with this fellow, it's so compact and light that I can bring it with me all the time. And that makes it a lot more valuable than the old one, because it gets used. I think it's time to do some handheld shots. I'm so used to looking at a screen that sometimes it's weird looking through a viewfinder. Put the image stabilization back on. It's the thing when you're used to shooting landscapes, you sometimes forget that you don't always have to be on a tripod. Some backlit trees there I like. Actually, I think that calls for a more committed approach. When you've got a really bland sky like I do this morning, it's not a bad idea to just zoom in on elements of the hills or your subject and just eliminate the sky altogether. If it doesn't add any value to the shot, if it doesn't add any necessary context or sense of scale or anything like that, and just cut it out, leave it out. So today was a typical case of getting to a location and the light wasn't what you expected. In my case here, I didn't drag my fat ass out of bed early enough, and I missed the sunrise. So by the time I got here, the sun was already up and over the hills. I was kind of hoping that it would be still behind the hills, but one thing I didn't account for is that the last time I shot sunrise here, was it sunrise? Yeah, I think it was. The last time I shot sunrise here was back in winter, and the sun was way over there when it rose, whereas today it rose over here, a lot further south. So the whole direction of light was different, and plus this time of year, obviously the sun comes up earlier in summer. I knew that, but the thing I forgot is it comes up much faster as well. But it didn't mean that I couldn't get some photos, I just had to take different kinds of photos. So I actually started off with a wide lens, which is something I hardly ever do. I started off with a 14 to 35 and shot some images of the sort of the whole vista below me. And then I went up to the 70 to 200, took some shots with that of different elements of the scene, and then went right up to the 100 to 400. Even though I was saying that, you know, it tends to be too hazy for that, I kind of thought maybe I'll get some very minimalist sort of watercolor style images with that because of the haze and just take advantage of the haze. So, you know, all is not lost. And even if I got no photos, it's just always nice to have a reason to get out of the house and go for a drive, go for a walk, and just, you know, spend time out here with, you know, nature, getting some fresh air and that sort of stuff. Even if it's just to get some fresh air. You know, we spend so much time inside that just having a reason to go outside and get some fresh air is good enough. It really is. But I enjoy taking photos. And you know, because you're looking through, or at a very small screen, or you're looking through a viewfinder, you often don't get the full sense of the image and what it contains and how good you can make it look until you get it back home on a computer. So this is one of the things I also love about landscape photography, indeed any photography, is that you know, you have multiple elements of it that can bring you pleasure. Being outside, that's enjoyable. Taking photos of nature, that's enjoyable. Getting them back on your computer and then seeing what you can do with them and then zooming in and saying, oh, I didn't notice that and I didn't notice that, isn't that beautiful? And then cropping them and color grading them and experimenting with, you know, graduated filters and all this sort of stuff. That adds another whole element of it again, and you can be quite creative with that side of it. I'm not very good at it. I just experiment. I figure photography, like all art forms, are entirely subjective. Yes, there are some basic principles and rules around it, but all it needs to do is create a feeling for you. And if it does it for you, then it's going to create the same, you know, it's going to create a feeling for other people as well. It might not be the same feeling, it might be different. But at the end of the day, we're out here to enjoy ourselves, to, you know, bring pleasure to our own lives. And if we can bring pleasure to other people's lives as well, that's a bonus. But really the main purpose we've got to remember is that we're doing this to satisfy a creative urge and to give ourselves a reason to get out and enjoy our lives more, to enjoy nature more. So not much of a video, I'm afraid. I'm sorry about that. But, you know, sometimes I watch a lot of landscape photography videos and I like to just come along, just tag along on a day trip with someone like Thomas Heaton or Adam Gibson. You know, just follow along. It's can be relaxing, can be enjoyable. If you did enjoy this, then I'd certainly appreciate you give it a thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed and you've watched my videos for a while, then I'd certainly welcome you as a subscriber. It'd be nice to have you along. Anyway, I think I might head home. Thanks for joining me again, and hopefully I'll see you next week. Bye for now.